Hello, how's everyone doing? Okay. Okay. Hello, how's everyone doing? Hope everyone's having a great day today. Okay, can you guys hear me good? Do I sound good? Okay, okay, hello everyone, how's everyone doing? Okay. I hope everyone's having a great day today. Oh, there's a James Langton mission. I haven't done a James Langton mission in a very long time. Okay, let me go and do that.
So you're back around, eh? Looking for work?
Your own mission.
Alrighty.
Paid killing, we'll do that.
I ain't gonna dress this up for you. No, sir. Don't see no sense in that. I'll tell you what this is. It is a killing. Simple as can be. Hope you can appreciate that. Yes, I do.
Yeah, what I will say about this guy
find them
is
out on Pike's Basin.
This guy is
Fellas,
probably the most forgetful Red Dead Redemption 2 character. This guy, this guy is a corrupt, he's a corrupt bounty hunter.
You honor your side of this bargain.
Yeah, he's a corrupt bounty hunter that, what's her name? Sadie kills. So remember in, like, the epilogue, you kill him?
Good trails to you.
And I completely, forgot about him. Like, I completely forgot that he was even in the story in the single player. That's how forgetful of a character he was. Hey, bro, how are you? Sorry I was not able to be in these last streams. I had to get hired as a busboy at a restaurant and work. Oh, it's okay, PlayStation fanboy. Thank you for being a member of my channel for nearly half a year. What's going on right now, though, at your job? How is it? Is everything good? Did it freeze? I really hope it didn't crash on the missions here. Are you sick of playing Red Dead Online? I really wish Red Dead Online had some content, something to do. I'm still having fun. I like playing with my friends and all, but I really wish that there was a DLC, that we had something to do on the game. That's good, PlayStation fanboy. As long as you have a job that you enjoy, and a boss that treats you well. When is that Cluck and Bell mission coming out? When is it coming out? I really hope I think my missions crashed here. I think they did. Yep. It did disappoint me too, Ibinator. Did I hear about the new auto shop bug? Yeah, I watched Gilly Master's video on it earlier today. It was, thank you, Army Soldier. It was, like, boxes being spawned in the auto shop, and it's, like, cars being spawned in the wrong place now. It's just weird. What would happen if Phil Leotardo and Salvatore met? given that they were voiced by the same guy. Well, Salvatore probably would not trust Phil at all. The funniest thing that happened at my school, the lockouts, I told this story before, but, your Sniper Elite missions were longer than Modern Warfare 3. Yep, they were. It was a longer game in general. Oh, man. Okay, hold on a second. Can you guys please invite me back? The game crashed. It's like, not, well, the missions crashed. The missions are glitched. We can't accept any missions. If you guys can please send me an invite back to that session, I'll rejoin. Basically, when I went to middle school in the city, this happened in 7th grade. We had these really big steel doors that would lock from the, they would lock automatically when they're closed. And what was really stupid is when recess ended, the kids had to all line up. So we had to all line up and just go into school. It would have made more sense to have everyone go in, you know, when the bell ended. But nope, it was instead that we had to all line up and just walk in, like, orderly fashion. And what happened is, these two kids, they just basically ran towards the doors and just locked everyone out. And what ended up happening is we were locked outside for half an hour. And then what ended up, the next day, the exact same thing happened. Two kids ran over to the doors. They locked everyone out, stuck for another half hour, but nobody cared, because we didn't want to go to class afterwards. So the lockouts I thought were kind of funny. We constantly kept getting locked out of the school. Did you hear about the passing of actor Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed from the Rocky franchise? Dylan from Predator, Action Jackson from the movie Action Jackson, and Chubbs from Happy Gilmore. No, I didn't hear about that. I remember that guy. Wasn't he? I'm trying to remember him. I haven't watched the Rocky movies. But I think I know the guy who you're talking about. He played that guy who fought against Rocky, right? And then Rocky was later his trainer. And then the Russian guy killed him in a boxing fight, right? His character. And then he also played as Dutch's friend in Predator, right? That's what it was? Am I right on that? What do you do if someone griefs you on Reddit online? Usually just leave the session. Usually don't like dealing with it, honestly. Thank you for inviting me back, everyone. If you were alive in Western times, what would be your choice of revolver? We're assuming that every revolver back, the Schofield. Probably the Schofield because of how simple it is. The Schofield is really easy to load. It's very simple. You basically just break the barrel open, and you just basically put all the rounds in the cylinder. It's a very easy revolver to load. The Cattleman, you know, commonly known as a Colt 45 back then. That handgun was a very common handgun, but it was much harder to load because it had a closed cylinder, and so you had to keep constantly rotating the cylinder, putting in each round. With the Schofield, you could just basically take a bunch of rounds from your hand and just load them all in at once. So it'll be a lot easier to reload that thing. Like I'll show you what I mean. I hate how Reddit Online does the really fast reloads now. That's what I really hate about the faster shooting. But I'll show you what I mean here. There's a Schofield, and there's the, where is it? The Cattleman. Come on. Okay, here we go. So with the Cattleman, you see how the cylinder is closed. So, yeah, no, that's BS. That somebody's gonna reload it that quickly. And, no. But the Schofield. See that? You just break it open. You just really pop it open, and you can just put all the rounds in the cylinder. So I would say it has this, the reloading is just a lot simple on that thing than it is on the Cattleman. So I hope that answers your question, Antonio. In my Skyrim Special Edition game, 170 mods, I've had plugins that add more than 50 plus hold guards to each capital. Also, the percussion firearms always stagger you when hit by one, and guards are heavy hitters in that. You know, the thing is, though, is usually whenever I'm playing any kind of game, Langton, it's amazing that you got your game to work during that. That's what I'll say, it's amazing. Because whenever I play any kind of game, if I'm, like, modding a single-player game on PC, I don't mod a lot, but if I do mod, like, a single-player game, I'm usually scared to install more than, like, 10 mods. And the reason I'm scared to install more than 10 mods is because I'm scared about, like, an update being released on that game, and basically the new update interfering with the mod and, like, crashing my game, or, like, corrupting my saves, or, like, another mod interfering with another mod. Because I've had that happen where, like, one mod interferes with another mod, and then you have to try to figure out which mod is causing it, you have to uninstall a bunch of mods. So that honestly amazes me that you have that many mods running on your game and you haven't had any issues with that. Because I've ran a lot. I played Mountain Blade Bannerlord, if you know that game, single player. I played that game, and I put in like a lot of mods and like different soldiers and like weapons from the medieval era. And that one, I've had so many crashes, like so many times my game freezes, you know, corrupts. So like it's just like it's been a disaster with like the mods on like Bannerlord for me personally. Thank you, Langton, for the super chat. Maybe the Lamat 9 rounds in the shotgun would mean over less reloads. No. You would not want to use the Lamat. Here, and this is the problem. People think that because the Lamat has 9 rounds, they think that it's a better weapon. But the Lamat is a black powder firearm. That's what people don't know. It's black powder. So you're not going to load it like that. It's a Civil War revolver. It's a Confederate revolver. Is the Lamat? I'm pretty sure it's Confederate. So it's you're not going to yeah, you're not going to be able to load it as quickly as you think you are. I'll tell you something. If you had a Schofield revolver, you could the Schofield will fire actual rounds, like a round with a casing in it. Where the Lamat is just going to fire basically balls. It's just balls of gunpowder. It's a black powder weapon.
We could really
and you could reload a Schofield revolver probably 4 times in the same time that you would take to reload a Lamat. That's how long those guns take to reload.
So far.
What about the volcanic pistol?
Thank you.
The volcanic pistol was a very strange firearm, but
people are dropping like flies.
The volcanic pistol is a perfect
sad,
example
really.
of why you don't
This
put a
whole
lever
country.
action into a handgun. That's
My
pretty much what it
father
was.
thought it would turn
It was
into the
a
new
gun
Eden.
that was a lever action
Sure
handgun.
as
I never
hell
heard
ain't
of something like
happening.
that, but that is what
But
that's
we'll
what
survive.
the volcanic pistol
We
basically
can
is.
too.
They tried to
Anyway,
advertise the volcanic
there's so much
pistol
to
as
do.
like the new
So
advanced
much,
weapon at the
so
time,
few
but it was a
people to
disaster.
You know what would be an enormous help? If you could deliver some bags from behind the house. It's things we borrowed and owe people and such like. All things we must pay back if we're ever to leave with our heads held high. We'll still be here a while yet, so come back if you're in the neighborhood.
How a lever action basically works in a rifle, for example. A lever action's rifle works a lot differently, its system, the tube, than on, like, for example, a bolt action rifle. Because most bolt action rifles are going to have an internal magazine. You know, that's pretty much an internal magazine. You basically load the rounds into it, and then every time you fire the rifle, you swing the bolt back, you turn it, it cycles out it ejects the spent casing, and it cycles the next round. With a lever action, you're basically loading the rounds in, and the lever basically is just putting them in the tube. And so basically all of the rounds are together in just like one big tube. And when you cycle the lever, it basically loads the next round from the tube, and you constantly keep firing. That's why most lever action guns, why they fire rounded bullets. They don't fire sharp bullets, because the idea is that if it's a sharp bullet, it might actually ignite the primer in the bullet that's behind it. That's why lever actions don't typically use sharp rounds. They use rounded rounds because they're scared that it might actually ignite all the rounds in the gun, and the gun could blow up. That's basically the fear behind it. There's a very weird design in a rifle that actually surprisingly worked. The Labelle 1886. That bolt-action rifle was revolutionary, because I think the Labelle 1886 is the first rifle that actually fired smokeless powder, correct me if I'm wrong on that. It was the French bolt-action rifle. And it was France's rifle during World War I. So if you know that rifle in Battlefield 1, that French, like, 8-shot rifle, that's, you know, that rifle is a bolt-action rifle that uses a tube in it. That's very strange. It doesn't have an internal magazine like a lot of other rifles. It has a tube instead. And so it's a tube-fed bolt-action rifle. It's a very weird design in it, but it worked. Let's see here. What's the worst weapon in Red Dead Online? Oh, that's a tough question to answer. What would be the worst gun in this game? Maybe the double-barreled shotgun, because all the other shotguns can pretty much do what the double-barreled shotgun can do. This double-barreled shotgun just has less rounds. The elephant gun I don't really count because it's meant for hunting. Have you seen the game Rise of Ronin that comes out in March? It kind of looks like Ghost of Tsushima, but with more advanced times. I want to get that game. I just really hope it's not disappointing. Thank you, Antonio. Thank you, Sam. Professional, you get a donation when you fix this damn door. That's a reference to a Spider-Man. I know what you're talking about, Spider-Man. Well, yeah, it might be good, I guess, but it just has 2 rounds in it. Hey, Pro, did you hear about some people that got off free for assaulting some police officers in New York? It's very concerning. Yes, I actually did hear about that, Mario. I actually saw the video, and they were actually released without bail. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, which was just ridiculous. And then when they actually came out of the courtroom or the station, they were actually giving their fingers to the camera. I don't. Honestly, I'll just tell you something. It disappoints me a lot as a former New Yorker that, like, the government is just not going to prosecute people, like not going to go hard on people for doing something like that.
Appreciate it.
Did I ever go through a phase? I think everyone pretty much has. You know, I would say that, like, you know, back in the day, you know, I used to curse a lot. I don't really do it anymore. And one thing I don't like is when people say, like, in my comment section that the reason I don't curse a lot anymore is because of, like, monetization. Sure, that's part of the reason, but if you ever talk to me in a party off stream, you know that I don't even curse a lot in parties. I tend to avoid cursing. I don't. And I just wanted to stop doing it. I just wanted to stop dropping a lot of F-bombs, and I just didn't want to, like, you know, talk like that anymore. Thank you for fixing this damn door. And also, did you see the new Silent Hill 2 remake gameplay at PlayStation State of Play? It looks beautiful. No, I actually didn't see it. You know, I might play it because I've actually never played the original Silent Hill 2, so I might actually play the remake when it comes out. Did you hear about the girl who stabbed her boyfriend 108 times? Yes, a lot of people have told me about that one. That's ridiculous. What state was that in, by the way, where that happened? What state was that, where that stabbing happened? Definitely sign of maturity. I still curse bad, though. Yeah, and the thing about this is when most of us were kids, when we become adults, we realize how stupid we were as kids. And so a lot of us change when we become adults. How boring Red Dead Online was in 2018. Red Dead Online got people really excited in 2018, actually, because 2018 it just came out. It was only out for a month in 2018. It came out like at the end of November, so about for a month. People had high hopes for it, but Red Dead Online didn't start taking off until nearly a year later with the Frontiers Pursuit update. When they added the Collector, Bounty Hunter, Trader. Near the end of Skyrim Special Edition, where Parthenox wants to teach dragons in Tamriel, do you think it's a bad thing or a double-edged sword? Alduin is gone. One life. No, I don't think it's a bad thing. Because Parthenax is a perfect example that, like, people can change. He's a perfect example of that. And so it shows you that you don't need to kill everybody, so you don't need to kill every single dragon, because if you really think about it, if you kill every single dragon, aren't you basically driving them to extinction, when you really think about that? Yeah. So if Parthenox can basically get them to change their ways, they can still be alive without being evil. I think that's basically a win-win. You don't have to kill somebody and they can change too. How boring is Red Dead Online 2018? Yeah, what I basically said earlier, Sam. Thoughts on Israeli protesters blocking aid trucks? Thank you, Rockstar, for the super chat. I didn't hear about that, but that's horrible if that's going on. No one should be blocking aid trucks. I did hear about a story, though, that went on where it was in Florida, correct me if I'm wrong, where there was this guy, this kid, 19-year-old kid, and he was the son of somebody that worked at the Israeli consulate, and he ran over a cop. There was like a cop that was like blocking the road or giving some guy a ticket, and he ran over the cop with a motorcycle, and then he tried to get out of it with diplomatic immunity, but the police, the government basically said there's no diplomatic immunity for this. So people told me about it on my bully stream. I looked into it, but yeah, nobody should be blocking aid trucks. I'm not gonna get into that whole conflict. I'm not gonna talk about it. I just want basically I just want peace, and I just don't want anyone to die. That's just basically my stand on the whole thing. So I'm just not gonna get into the whole conflict. But no one should be blocking aid trucks. Thank you, Rockstar, for the super chat. Do you play games on your phone? Not really. No, not really. I've the game that I've probably played the most on my phone is probably Liberty City Stories. That's probably what I played the most. Which campaign story is worse, Modern Warfare 2023 or Black Ops 3? I don't know. I haven't played Black Ops 3. I don't know. I can't answer that question, Premium. Oh, I just abandoned my friend on the horse. Oh, well, I'm sorry about that. Could cars be added to Red Dead Online? Sure, but it's not gonna happen, though. I can't imagine it, though.
These your final You ain't gonna see another day.
When you said GTA Online burned you out, I could really relate until now. I hate school, and it just makes me want to go insane, and I just want to be done, the burnout. Thank you, Blinded Eagle. Thank you for the super chat. I'll tell you something about school. Is when I think about my high school, right? There are some things that I miss about my high school. But the other things that but when I really think about it, I'm like, would I really like to be in high school again? And the answer is no. So, oh, I killed the bounty target. Oh, my bad there. Agreed, Pro. It's very tough over there. Thank you, Greatest Within.
I'm gonna find you.
Is your phone how you play GTA Liberty City Stories on the channel? No. I played the emulated version of the PS2 disc on my computer. What's your question, Pat's time? Don't worry, I'll look for it again. And look, guys, don't feel like you're spamming. You can post the question again. It's not a big deal. That's the thing I would ask you guys. If I miss your question, feel free to post it again. I'm not going to accuse you of spamming. Thank you, Antonio. No, I haven't played Scarface Money, Power, Respect. Oh, my horse died earlier. I also have several random encounter mods where there's more events, real Civil War presence, and more frequent events with Dalmor, Gestapo Justiciars. I wish that they would have made the Civil War a little bit more detailed, personally. And do you know what I wish they would have done? I wish they would have put in more characters that are not Nords, that are on the Stormcloak side. I wish they would have put that in. Because I remember that the Redguard couple, in, that's in, Markarth, that city. If you actually talk to them, you find out that their daughter went to go join the Stormcloaks. And, the thing about that is I wish that they would have explained that backstory a little bit more. I thought that was interesting. Why she chose the Stormcloaks over the Empire. But I wish that they would have explained that a little bit more. I think it's probably because the Red Guards, they really hate the Dalmor as well. That's probably the reason.
I'ma kill you, graveyard dead.
Your blood.
Let me see. Did that Pat's Time guy, did he post again? Why did Capcom cancel Mega Man Legends 3? They canceled it probably because, what's his name? I'm trying to remember his name. The developer guy, damn, I forget his name. He left Capcom, and Mega Man Legends was like his project, his main big thing, and they basically did that just to get pissed at him.
I hope you're going home to change.
Well, no, Langton. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hammerfall is the is that the Redguard province's Hammerfall? Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Is Hammerfall the Redguard country? The Hammerfall was part of the Empire when they fought the Aldmeri Dominion, and what happened is the Empire signed the the Concordat with the Aldmeri Dominion, and Hammerfall was like so pissed about that they basically said, we're not agreeing to this, we're gonna keep fighting. And what ended up happening is the Empire basically kicked Hammerfall out of their empire. They basically did it like, kicking Singapore out. They basically just kicked them out of their empire. And what happened is the Hammerfall became an independent kingdom and fought against the Aldmeri Dominion. And Hammerfall didn't win against the Aldmeri Dominion, but they didn't lose either. They fought them till the very end, where the Aldmeri Dominion could not keep fighting. Like they didn't have enough funds and resources for like another campaign, and so they signed a separate peace treaty with them, recognizing their independence. And that's how Hammerfall became an independent country in the Elder Scrolls world, because the Empire kicked them out because they didn't want to accept surrender. And that's what the Empire should have done. The Empire should not have accepted surrender. They should have fought on to the very end when they were fighting the Aldmeri Dominion originally. But the Yeah, that was basically, that's how Hammerfall became independent, and I think that's why the Red Guards hate the Aldmeri Dominion also so much.
Why me?
See here, which radio station did you not have to worry about copyright claims in GTA 3? The radio station that I didn't have to worry about copyright claims, U20, it was Head Radio and Lips. Head Radio and Lips, most of those songs. There is one song in Liberty City Stories that's a rap song. I think it's on Head Radio, and it's considered copyright, but everything else is copyright free.
What is this? Howdy. Hi.
You see, did Pat's... I'll look for Pat's Time's comment if he's...
You better pray I
What, the devil has gotten into him? Well, shit!
Oh, I see Pat's Time's comment. My opinion on Gandhi. I don't know that much about Gandhi. I know that he led the independence movement against Britain. He tried to keep, as far as I know, he tried to keep India and Pakistan together as one country. He failed. His movement was largely peaceful. That's what I know about Gandhi. Any advice to have fun in high school or make friends? The thing about it, the best way to make friends is find a group of people that you can hang out with at lunch, because you get to see your friends at lunch. Thoughts on Ben Franklin?
I ain't for this.
Ben Franklin was a pretty honorable guy. He was definitely one of the best founding fathers. The thing about Ben Franklin is, what was it with Ben Franklin? Ben Franklin grew up in a pretty privileged household. And what happened is Ben Franklin changed his mind completely on slavery. So initially, when he was in his younger days, he was a supporter of it. But then, as he got older, he realizes how bad it was. And Ben Franklin was so against slavery that he actually wrote in his will that his kids are not going to get any of their fortune unless they free all their slaves. So the only way that Ben Franklin's kids were going to get any of his fortune was when they were going to free all their slaves. A lot of people don't know that about Ben Franklin. He wrote that in his will, that his kids are not going to get any of their inheritance unless they free every single one of their slaves. So there's a reason that guy's in the $100 bill. He was an inventor. He was a very smart man. He was a founding father. He was a very talented guy. The only one of his kids that didn't get the inheritance is the loyalist kid, because one of his kids was actually a loyalist. So one of his kids was loyal to King George. He was the only one who didn't get any inheritance, and he went to he lived in London for the rest of his life. So people don't know that one of Ben Franklin's kids was a loyalist.
I'm gonna find you.
And also, here's what I'll tell you guys is that controversy about Ben Franklin with the bones in his house, that controversy is being blown out of proportion. So for people that don't know, Ben Franklin's house, there was many years later, there was like bones that were found in his house, in like the walls and stuff like that. And people basically think that like there's these conspiracies that like Ben Franklin was like some serial killer or something like that. There is no evidence in that whatsoever. Do you know why he had bones in his basement, in like the in the walls and stuff like that? The reason for that was because the probable reason for that is because Ben Franklin was a scientist. He studied a lot of things, and what Ben Franklin did was he examined bodies. He basically opened up bodies. He wanted to see how the human body worked. He studied organs in the human body, stuff like that. It's kind of disgusting, but he was a scientist. He wasn't killing people. He wasn't doing stuff like that. It was people that were dead already that he was examining their bodies. That's pretty much what it was. It wasn't he wasn't like a serial killer or something like that. There's not really evidence for any of that.
That way I can take the corner, all right.
Let's see here. Thoughts on Benedict Arnold? Oh, Benedict Arnold is the worst traitor in American history. He's he's just a complete scumbag. You know, the thing is, I'll talk about Benedict Arnold one day. I'll talk about him in a YouTube video when I play through Assassin's Creed 3, because he's actually an antagonist in Assassin's Creed 3. He's one of the villains in the game. So when I play Assassin's Creed 3 one day, I'll talk about it. Bro, how historically accurate is World at War? Well, World at War is definitely 100 times more historically accurate than Vanguard. I would say the grenades in World at War are inaccurate. I'm not talking about the grenade spam. I'm talking about the American grenades. Because do you know the American grenades early on in the war were actually yellow color? They were bright yellow color. And the Americans actually changed that to green later on because they didn't want them to give away their position to bright yellow. So that was, they were originally bright yellow. That's one historical inaccuracy in World at War. I'm trying to think of it. There aren't that many historical inaccuracies. The number one historical inaccuracy that I see people complaining about with World at War is the uniforms. But I don't know World War II uniforms that well. I don't, so I can't comment on that. So I don't know how historically accurate the uniforms are in World War II. I know way more about firearms. World War II firearms, that I know way more about, but uniforms, I don't really know that much about them, so I can't really comment on that. How historically accurate is Sonic the Hedgehog? Look, dude, I'm not stupid. I know that you're trying to troll me, but here's the thing about this is I believe extremely in free speech. I'm a big free speech guy, and so you can come on this channel and you can insult me and you can say whatever you want. I'm not gonna ban you. One of my moderators might get pissed and he might ban you, but I'm never gonna personally ban somebody, even if they call me an idiot or they make fun of me in chat. So just letting you know on that. I hope Rockstar does a better job at the night sky in GTA 6 and Red Dead Redemption 2. One thing I found unrealistic about Red Dead Redemption 2 is the moon. The moon went through all phases in a single night. Yeah. And the thing is, though, is that in real life, if you were out in the Wild West at night, it would be pitch black. You would not be able to see anything. Nothing at all. Zero. I was in the Mojave Desert at night, driving through the roads once, and it's pitch black. You cannot see anything. And so, yeah, it's like that you can see everything in the desert at night. It's no. I hope Rockstar is a better... Yep, thank you, Bunny, and thank you, Anonymous. Well, I don't really comment on personal things like that. Thank you for the super chat. Also, that one mission with the Red Guard trader, Sadia, said she spoke out against the Dominion. Can you explain why that's, just wrong in wordings? Well, the thing about that is that there's like two different versions. She claims that she spoke out against the Dominion, and then the other one is the bounty hunters like looking for her. Those guards, they're claiming that she like murdered somebody or did some kind of crime in Hammerfall. But honestly, I think that she's lying. I don't think she's the one that's telling the truth. But the thing about that quest is you never find out who's telling the truth. You never find out who's guilty in that one. You have to just make your best judgment. And that quest, by the way, the quest with her, with Sadia, that is actually based on a Morrowind quest. In Morrowind, there was a murder in Morrowind. And it was in, like, one of the towns, I forget who it was, but basically, like, an Argonian was accused of committing the crime, and the Argonian said that he didn't do it, that he's just being accused because he's a foreigner, and then there was, like, a witness who claimed that, like, one of the Dark Elves killed them, but there's never, like, direct proof of who committed the murder, and so you basically have to use your best judgment on who did it. Who do you think, killed the person? I don't know if you know the quest I'm talking about in Morrowind, Langton, but that's what it's originally based on, is, maybe for an April Fool's joke, you can do Lego City Undercover. It's a crime game for kids. I have a pretty cool idea for an April Fool's video. The thing I'll say about the April Fool's video is that April Fool's is probably going to be a GTA 6 video. That's what it's probably going to be. I'm not going to spoil what it's going to be, but I think people will find it funny. Thank you, Langton. Next Elder Scrolls games it'll be interesting to see what story it will take place after Skyrim. And I wonder how they're going to handle the Skyrim Civil War, too. How they're going to do that. Next time you go to Taco Bell, go in blind, and if it's just still around, get that stacker and you're welcome. Also, Last of Us 3 is basically confirmed with Watch Grounded 2. Oh. Well, I guess we'll see where The Last of Us 3 goes, if they do a better story than last time. But I haven't had Taco Bell in, like, probably a year. More than that, probably, yeah.
Greetings. And on we go. Have a nice night.
Okay. Last time you worked out, I hope you're not slacking. Probably a month back. That's probably what it was. It's been some time. I gotta get back on it, dude. I gotta go back. I gotta start working out again. Greatest Within. I know you're busy. Just 30 minutes a day should do, bro. I know, and I have to develop a pattern on how to work out, what to do exactly. Thank you, Greatest Within. Also, Hammerfall's unit, the Alakir, are Special Force Mercenary Warriors. They're innocent, and I heard they got those curved swords. Well, the thing about this is the Alakir, though, from what I've seen about them, is they're not as bad as the Aldmeri Dominions people, the Justiciars, because there's actually a random encounter you can have with them, where they will actually what they will do is they will stop a Redguard woman and they'll accuse her of being Sadia. I don't know if you've seen that random encounter. There's a random encounter with that, and the woman claims I'm not the Sadia person, and they keep harassing her, and then eventually one of the warriors walks up to the other one. He's like, it's not the right one. It's not her, and then they actually apologize to her and let her go. So if that was the Thalmor, they probably would have killed her regardless if they had found the right person or not. And that Redguard warrior, if you choose to betray Sadia, he does keep his word to you. He doesn't betray you. So that leads me more to believe that he was probably telling the truth. That probably Sadia probably was a criminal, and she was probably hiding in Skyrim. So I believe the warriors. I don't believe Sadia, honestly, in that situation. I work out at home in my parents' basement when I'm visiting them, and when I'm at my apartment, you know, in the I work out in the gym at my apartment. Pro can bench 500 pounds. No. I can bench 135 pounds. That's what I can do. I can't bench more than that, but I'm trying to do more.
I know you took care of that thing. You're okay, you know? Come on, work for me.
Second.
You're making yourself pretty useful, you know? It's so goddamn cold in here. I can't stand it. Carajo. I ought to start drinking. But before I get drunk, okay, here's the job for you. Some fools ain't been paying Flaco his piece. And that ain't a smart thing to do. No, no. They're over at Colter. Wipe out everything they got. Maybe they don't disrespect again. Quick. And stay warm.
Yamato was tasked by the Hammerfall Council to capture and return a Thalmor traitor known as Sadia. Not kill, capture. They hand her over to the council. You know what? Let me look her up right now. Langton, hold on one second here. I'll look up that because I know the article will probably on her will probably say what in Skyrim what she was accused of, but here. Let's do this battle here first. Is it better to save for a mortgage or just rent? Depends. It depends on the situation. Are you actually searching that up, Patrick? I will right now. Okay, it says here that that she was accused of that she was accused of speaking out against the Dominion. But it says and then according to the Alakir, she fled Hammerfall because she betrayed a noble family. I think the yeah, that's what I would say. I would say the Alakir are probably right on that. What do you think about the factions in the division? I remember them. There's the looters. There is the cleaners. There's the prisoners, the Rikers, and then there's the Last Man Battalion. I think that's what it was. Look, look, that professional troll account that I'll say in chat is... I don't understand, honestly, what your problem is, dude. Like I said, I'm not gonna ban you, because I believe in free speech. You know, my moderators might jump into chat and they might get pissed and ban you. But, I'm just letting you know, I'm not personally gonna ban you, but I don't understand what your problem is in the first place. I don't cause drama. I don't harass people. You know, I'm just here, you know, talking to people, having fun on the stream, so... I honestly don't understand what you're trying to accomplish, and I don't understand, you know, why you're harassing me. Bro, one day, for GTA Online, I will, for Rockstar to permanently remove, shark cards from the store, and give us 3 times, boosted, money jobs, more often, instead. They're not gonna ever remove shark cards, they're just gonna they're always gonna keep shark cards on. Yeah, like, you know, I don't understand, like, you know, there's people out there like that, they make fun of my face, you know, they make stupid, like, accounts like that. I don't personally understand it, like, why. Like, I don't cause drama, I'm not bothering them, I'm not harassing them. All I do is I just help people out, just chill on streams, and, you know, I just make guides. But, unfortunately, some people are just looking for drama. I hope they feel good about themselves, but... let's see here. Wow, I respect your tolerance, even to outright trolls. Freedom of speech is good. These are very terrible individuals. Thank you, man. Bro, I think in the future don't give them attention. I'm not really trying to give them attention. I didn't even read the guy's name. But I'm just basically making it clear that, you know, people can make fun of me what they want. You know, I'm not like one of those people that just gets all pissed off and starts banning people. I don't do stuff like that, but one of my moderators might come in here and they might ban them. They might get pissed. That might happen. But personally, me, I usually don't ban them. The only time I will ban people from my chat is if they're posting a scam or if they're being racist towards people. But other than that, people can come in the chat and they can make fun of me. They can insult my face. You know, they can do stuff like that. I'm not going to ban them. Manhunt 2 is a psychological aspect. I will definitely play Manhunt 2. Thank you, Greatest for Finn, and thank you, PlayStation Fanboy. Pro, one day for GTA Online, I will for Rockstar to permanently remove shark cards from the store. Like I said, they're probably not going to remove shark cards. Maybe if GTA 6 comes out, they'll disable them, but they'll still probably keep them up for a year. If you happen to be in New York City, when it happens, do you think you'd end up banding up some friends together and going to the GTA 6 midnight release? Maybe an in-real-life stream? Maybe, but are they even doing midnight releases anymore? Does that even happen? Thank you, Blinded Eagle. And thank you, U20. I heard some clickbaiting trolls that Rockstar was going to charge $5 or $10 an hour to play GTA 6. Should I be worried? No, that is not going to happen, and I'm telling you that if anything like that happened, if Rockstar actually charged people, if Rockstar even charged people $1 an hour to play GTA 6 online, you would have the most amount of outrage that I've ever seen in a video game community ever. Like, if even Rockstar would not be safe from the outrage. If they even tried to do something like that, the people would be so outraged, it would never, you know, nothing like that is never going to happen, so I wouldn't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. The only thing I could see Rockstar getting away with is if they try to do like a monthly subscription. That's the only thing I can see them trying to get away with. But if they try to make somebody like pay like $1 an hour, then no, it's not gonna happen. It's the Rikers are a bunch of sadistic convicts. Reminds me a bit of the Brotherhood from Saints Row 2. Yeah, and you know what I'll tell you about the Rikers is Rikers Island. I know that island. It's a prison island that's in New York City. The thing about Rikers Island is Rikers Island isn't just a regular prison. Rikers Island has some of the most dangerous, worst human beings on it. You know, serial killers. You know, you have gang members. You know, drug dealers, rapists. You know, pedophiles. Like, the worst kinds of people are in Rikers. And what I'll say is, there was, like, some stupid politicians in New York that, like, a couple years ago, what they wanted to do is they wanted to shut down Rikers Island, and they wanted to, like, move it to a maximum security prison in the Bronx. Which, like, no. It's like, the whole point of keeping the prison on an island is so they don't escape. And if the prisoners in Rikers Island actually got out, it would just be just like The Division. It would just be pure chaos. Just absolute anarchy. Like, you have the worst human beings ever. But the only thing that I think is unrealistic about The Division is the fact that the Rikers banded together in, like, one giant gang. That's the one thing I find, like, to be a bit unrealistic, because in reality there'd probably be multiple gangs that would be forming and they would just be killing each other. That's probably what would happen. But the fact that they, like, formed one giant gang, I think that's a little unrealistic, but it's What about the cleaners? Do you think they have good intentions? The cleaners want to end the virus, but they basically just lost their humanity and they've gone insane with how they wanted to do it. They've gone way too far. If Rockstar ever does that, they'll end up like Volition. Yep. And you want to know something? Those stupid politicians that wanted to move Rikers Island into the Bronx. Here's the thing: is wherever that prison gets built, is everybody's property values is going to go down. It's going to happen. So wherever a prison is built, people's property values are going to go down. And so imagine that. Imagine how pissed you would be if your property value went down because the government decided to build a maximum security prison in your neighborhood. That's how stupid that is. And so it's like, Rikers Island works. Keep them there. There's no need to make a prison in the Bronx. It's just stupid. That's just dumb. The whole point of them being on an island, like I said, is so they don't escape. That's the whole point of them being on an island. So nobody wants to live in a neighborhood that has a maximum security prison in there. And even if nobody's getting out of the prison, when the prisoners get out, the first place they're going to step foot in is they're going to step foot into your neighborhood. So, like, nobody wants to have a maximum security prison in their neighborhood. Nobody wants that. And you know what I will say? If you're gonna build a maximum security prison in New York City, you know where they should build it? They should build it near Central Park, where all the really rich people, all the people with their $1 million penthouses in New York City, build the prison in their neighborhood, in the really rich people's neighborhood. See how they feel about that, how they like that. Do that. The clickbait really got worse after GTA 6's reveal. Oh yeah, definitely. People are just gonna keep spamming it. There's still people who are analyzing the trailer, even though it's been months at this point. I can't think of anything at the top of my head right now exotic. Where I live, there is a prison next to my city center. Oh, and are there people? There people who live in that area? That's probably not good. Would you compare Last Man Battalion to Shadow Company or Ultor's Masako team? Yeah, they are kind of similar. I was really disappointed that the Division's final boss was a helicopter. I remember that too. It was a helicopter fight. How often are prison escapes, though? Prison escapes are very rare in the modern day and age, but the thing about this is it's not even about prison escapes. It's about the fact is, like, nobody wants a maximum security prison to be built in their neighborhood. Nobody does. And it's going to bring down everybody's property values. And on top of that is when the prisoners get out, the first place they're going to step in is they're going to step into your neighborhood, where the prison is. So, and then the thing is, where does the government build prisons most of the time? They build them in poor neighborhoods. That's where they build prisons most of the time. So, if the government wants to build a maximum security prison, they'll go build it in the rich people's neighborhood, where all the rich elites live. I'm sure they'll love it. So I'm sure they'll love having their multi-million-dollar penthouses right next to a maximum security prison. Okay, Thoughts on Dred Scott. I think the court messed up because they didn't want him to be free from slavery. The thing is, though, is the Supreme Court had the power to probably end slavery earlier there. At that point, they didn't. It was a massive. It was a massive mistake that they did. The fact that they upheld slavery, and then the Civil War. The Civil War, I think, started like 10 years after the Dred Scott case. Am I right on that? Dred Scott case happened like before that, right? See here. Is that a Sopranos picture that you have too?
Nope.
Is what credible, Greatest Within?
Bit to rattle me, but oof.
Huh? Someone in the chat mentioned that there's a poll that suggests over 60% of Gen Z Americans believe that the... Well, I don't know how anyone can honestly believe that. Anyone who thinks the Holocaust didn't happen, I don't know what planet they're living on. I don't know what's going through their head. It's probably it's probably some neo-Nazi brainwashing. That's probably what it is. They're so brainwashed into some neo-Nazi garbage ideology that they've basically convinced themselves of that. But I don't know how anybody can possibly claim that did not happen. That person's an idiot who would say that. Thank you, Mario, for the super chat. Okay, when there's a minute left, just deliver the target. When there's a minute left. As an Indiana resident, thoughts on John Dillinger? You're talking with a bank robber? The thing is, though, is how the police killed John Dillinger, that pretty much was an execution. That wasn't even, like, a proper arrest. I'm trying to think of, here.
Hello. What happened to you? Where's all that blood from?
I'm trying to remember how John Dillinger died.
Morning, miss.
Uh... He died in a movie theater. Yeah, there's controversy over how John Dillinger died.
I don't mind keeping things simple.
There's multiple accounts of it. He died getting shot to death, we know that, but,
Morning to you. Why not carry something less dangerous, like a stick?
yeah, some people say he got shot in the back of the head. Other accounts state that he had, basically pulled a gun on the cops, so there's different accounts on how Dillinger died exactly. I don't know that much about it. So I don't know what account might be true and what might not be true here. Okay.
Hey, and top prize for not messing up that last one. You think I'm mean, don't you? I bet you think I'm the meanest son of a bitch ever drew breath. Why? 'Cause I'm a killer, I'm a thief, and a boy. But I'm not nearly the meanest. No way. I'll only kill someone if they deserve it. And I'll kill them quick, out of the goodness of my own heart. Skinner Brothers ain't like that. Keep that in mind when you're stealing their boats for me from up at Bacchus Bridge there. I might be mean, okay? But I ain't a damn loon.
Over in this camp. What conspiracy theory do I think could be true? One of the conspiracies about JFK's death could be true. We don't know. There's a lot of people, and if you ask me who really killed JFK, I'll tell you I don't know. There's so many conspiracies over who did it. But the thing about JFK's death is there's just so many weird things about his death that you don't really know. There's just so many things that just don't make sense. Have you heard of Project MK Ultra? Yes, the CIA's brainwashing program. Yes, I know about that. Do you know that Yuri in Modern Warfare 3 was voiced by the same guy that voices Kane in Kane and Lynch? Really? I didn't know that. I did not know that. Here we go. Oh, this is far. Yes, I'm still gonna do the Cattail Lynch 2 video. That's the only thing I'm struggling with. I'm struggling to find people that are just willing to play. Shout out to your mom for filming your videos when you're opening or viewing products. We love professional. She's the best. Well, thank you, man. Yeah, I love my mom a lot, and she has helped me a lot with that.
No sign.
What's a good strategy to learn a new language?
You think I'm not gonna find you?
Practice every day, but also talk to somebody. The easiest way to learn a new language is when you understand the basics of that language, and then you talk to a person that speaks that language. Because I'm gonna tell you guys something: is a lot of people like learning languages. Like one of the most common languages that people like to do is Japanese, but then they realize how hard it is. And what I will say about it is learning another language is really useless unless you really intend to speak to somebody with that language. Because I'll tell you this, my mom, for example, my mom knows how to speak Russian, but she has forgotten most of Russian, like a lot of it. Like, she can still understand basic, but she has forgotten most of it because she does not speak to anyone in Russian. She doesn't know anybody. My father, on the other hand, he speaks fluent Russian, and the reason for that is because there are family members that he has, like cousins, distant cousins that live in Belarus, and he talks to them primarily in Russian. And so he talks to them on Skype and stuff like that, and so that's how he's still able to understand it. But my mom doesn't know anybody, so she doesn't understand it that well anymore. So the thing is, though, is that if you're gonna learn a new language, make sure it's a language that you can speak to people with. It's never bad to learn another language. Make sure it's a language that you can talk to people with. The only time I can say that, if you can't talk to somebody, then watch movies in that language. Watch movies with that language speaking. If you cannot, if you can't talk to anybody, that's another way to practice. But talking to people in another language is the best way to learn. Hey Pro, what do you think about elections and political campaigns being paid for by taxpayers instead of moneyed interests? They do it in Europe, like France, to pick a country from that region at random. Here's what I think. I think that it should be... I think that everybody should be able to... the max that anybody should be able to donate to a political campaign is $1,000. That's what I think. I think that campaigns... The max donation amount that somebody can send is $1,000. And if somebody is sending a donation from a company, then everybody else from that company should be banned from donating. That's, I think the max donation amount should be like $1,000. I don't think anybody should be able to donate more than $1,000 each. Because all these like money interests, it's like it's money in politics, it's so disgusting. Slavic languages are very hard to learn, yes. Troy Baker and Laura Bailey also voiced the boss in Saints Row 4. Oh, they do? But, well, what happened here? Oh, the boat! Yeah, these waves would just take you, and you would just slam your head against a rock and die in real life. You would not be like this. Like... Yeah, I agree with you, Riz. That was the problem with the trader, is that there was no animals spawning. Oh, I'm sorry, Langton. Let me look. Have you attacked a giant in Skyrim Special Edition? If yes, how far? The thing is, though, is most of the time when I kill giants in Skyrim, I just do it with the bow and arrow. It's really easy, or I'll just do destruction magic. You know, I recently made, like, a character, or I should say it's recent, last year. Last year I made a character in Skyrim, and it was the first time I played as a high elf, because I've never played as a high elf before, and I beat the game as a high elf, but I hate the Aldmeri Dominion, but I just wanted to make a character as a high elf. Not what I'm talking about? Wait, what? Have you attacked the giant in Skyrim Special Edition? If yes, how far? What, you mean close range? Like, close range, I've attacked giants before. Just gotta watch out for their big hit, but, you'll be fine. Giants are not that hard to kill in Skyrim. Maybe at lower levels, but they're not that difficult to kill.
I have had it. Goddamn.
I think the most, did I get launched? Oh, did I get thrown? Oh, yes, I've gotten thrown very far before. But, Langton, you know what I think is the most annoying enemy in Skyrim? It's probably the Conjurers. The Conjurers? When you meet Conjurers that are, like, really high levels, I think they are probably the most annoying, like, enemy to fight against in Skyrim. That's what I think, at least. The Conjurers, the really high-level Conjurers. Those guys piss me off. But also, I don't know if you know this, Langton, if you actually play as a high elf, a lot of the Nords will actually be pretty racist to you in Skyrim. So a lot of the NPCs will have specific dialogue on that. Yeah, but I was surprised by that. Like, I know the Nords in lore don't like the high elves, I know that. But I was surprised that they made, like, that they made extra dialogue for that, for the NPCs. I was surprised by that. Will they remaster Skyrim? Oh, again? But I remember that in Markarth, there's that one character in Markarth, and he ends up becoming the leader of Markarth. If you side with the Stormcloaks, that guy. If you're a high elf and you actually talk to him, he actually tells you your people caused all of this. Your people caused all these problems. He says that to you. So he's pretty hostile if you talk to him. Here. With 16 times the detail, yeah. Well, you want to know something? The new Fallout TV show that's coming out in April, I bet it's gonna have 16 times the detail too. And deliver the target when it's like 4 minutes left, I guess. When am I gonna do another single-player playthrough? Well, I'm doing one right now. I'm playing Ace Attorney, the great, I'm playing Ace Attorney, Apollo Ace Attorney trilogy. That's what I'm playing. Pacific Assault, the final part is going to be up, what is it? Today's Friday, right? So the final part is going to be up next week. Nearly done with what? Wait, what, London? Yes. Pacific Assault only has one mission left. I was surprised by that. I found out that there's only one mission left, Tarawa. The Battle of Tarawa, that's it. So I was surprised that there's only one part left, but it's because the missions are like 2 hours long each in Pacific Assault. They're pretty long. I passed the game of High Elf Dragonborn. The Nords are racist but grateful. The High Elf is the best class that you can play as if you plan on doing a mage character. They're really the best for mage characters. My next playthrough is going to be Manhunt 2 after Pacific Assault. That's what we're going to do next, probably. I'll probably put it to a poll. I'll probably make a poll and I'll ask people what game they want me to play next. But I think that Manhunt 2 is going to win, because I've seen so many comments, Manhunt 2, please. I think Manhunt 2 is probably going to win the poll. But I'll put it to a poll. As a challenge, you should try to beat Prison Break with randoms on the stream. Just curious to see how bad it is with randoms. Well, that's going to be very hard to do, because if I start streaming, everybody's going to join me. So I'm going to have to probably appear offline and probably try to find a, Manhunt 2, I'll probably be posting, in like a week or two. I still have to order the game online, and I'm going to have a really good cosplay for Manhunt 2. I'll have a pretty good cosplay. It'll be pretty scary. That's what I'll say about my Manhunt 2 cosplay. So did you guys think my Manhunt 1 cosplay was scary? I'll probably have a pretty scary cosplay for Manhunt 2 as well. Manhunt 2 or Spider-Man? Yeah, I mean, maybe I could put that one in the poll. I could do that. I'm thinking it's Manhunt 2. Manhunt 2 will be one of the games. Maybe I could put Spider-Man in the poll. What other games could I include in there? I don't want to include another World War II game because we're doing Pacific Assault right now. I'll think of something. Why not many World War I games? I guess it's because developers don't think that they're popular enough. But DICE proved EA wrong when they showed how popular Battlefield 1 became. Could I play Starfield? I could do that one day. Would you cringe at the fact that in an alternate reality you would like the Saints Row reboot? Oh, no, don't. Don't even scare me like that. Ghost Recon Wildlands is a game that I really want to do, but I don't think I'm gonna do it right now at the moment because I'm visiting my family still, and I'm going back on February 15th. That's when I'm going back, and so all my military gear, like my tactical vests and all that other stuff, I have that back at my apartment, and so I wouldn't be able to record a Ghost Recon cosplay if I started right now. So I have some pretty cool ideas how I can use my vests to like create some pretty cool outfits. I'm gonna make a poll right now, hold on. Okay, on.
God damn you. If I was you, I'd have put a bullet in him for sure. There's your piece of silver.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm gonna make a pretty interesting poll right now, guys. Wait. This poll is gonna be kind of funny, guys, by the way. Just give me 1 second to post this poll here. This is gonna give me 1 second to look at the chat in a little bit. Okay, yeah, I'm just getting a bunch of pictures together. This poll is gonna be really good. Post this. It's gonna be about the Saints Row, by the way. I'm really curious how people vote on this. I think the characters are going to be the ones that, Okay, I posted the poll, guys. Check out the poll right now. I asked people what they think is the worst thing about the Saints Row reboot. Oh, somebody voted that they liked the game, but then they took their vote back. Yeah, so I asked people what they think is the worst thing about the reboot, and it seems that the characters and the story are tied right now.
Evening.
Okay. Everything should be an option. Yeah, but I wanted to see what the number one choice would be for people on that. Would the poll results determine your playthrough order? Probably, yeah. Thank you, Blinded Eagle. Thank you for the super chat. Knowing that the original Saints Row will never be released on PC is disappointing. Yeah, but the thing about that, the original Saints Row has really good graphics, and it actually runs really well on the Xbox 360. I was surprised how well that game ran on 360. It ran really well. Remember when Kevin asked him to help you get a kid's meal toy? I actually ranted about that in my review.
Could you move out of the way?
If you could be any race from fantasy, what would you be? You're talking about like Skyrim? Like if I'm assuming you're going by Skyrim lore. If I was a race in the Skyrim world, I probably would be a dark elf. I like the dark elves always the most. Here. I wish there was more characters and factions in GTA 5 like in 4. The closest thing in Sandy Shores, but Trevor kills everyone. Yep, that happens. And that's the thing is, the whole story with the Lost and Trevor didn't really make much sense. I hated the direction they went with that, Mr. Nowhere. Bro, do you consider National Socialism, Nazism, a form of socialism or fascism? Well, Nazism is a form of fascism, but the thing about that is Nazism has a lot of it's economics. Its social policies are extreme right wing. So Nazism is a far right ideology, but it's economics. The economics of it, it's very much aligned with a lot of like socialist governments. Now, Nazi Germany was not a free market capitalist economy. Like, a lot of people think that it was like a... I don't know why people think that it was like a free market capitalist system. It wasn't. Nazi Germany was more... Its economy was freer, for example, than the Soviet Union, where the Soviet Union, everything was, you know, completely government-controlled. But the difference is, in the Soviet Union, the government owned all the companies, and everybody worked for the government. But in Nazi Germany, the companies gave all of their earnings to the government. They would report to the government. So the government basically told the companies what to do. The companies still existed, but the government told them what to do. The government controlled industry heavily in Nazi Germany. It was very much not a free market capitalist economy, as like people... I don't know why people think it was. It wasn't. Hitler hated capitalists. That is true, yes. Hitler did hate capitalism. He did. He ranted about it in several speeches. He talked about it. You think map bad, story and characters are bad, in my opinion. The map was kind of okay, but it felt dead, a lot of it too. Thank you, Greatest Within. Did Hitler watch movies from like the West? The thing about that is, you know what's kind of weird? Both Hitler and Stalin were obsessed with American Wild West movies. I don't know why. Like, they had a collection of Wild West movies. Like, they were both obsessed with that. But to answer your question, Mario, is National Socialism a form of socialism? I would say yes. I would say that the difference between, you know, National Socialism and, like, authoritarian socialism, other forms of authoritarian socialism, is what Nazism is basically, what Nazism basically is, in its, you know, ideological form, is authoritarian socialism combined with white supremacy. That's what it pretty much is. It is a authoritarian, socialist ideology that is mixed with white supremacy. That is what primarily differentiates between it and like other authoritarian socialist states, is the white supremacy aspect of it. The racism of it. Because other socialist states, they are, very authoritarian, they're dictatorships as well, but they don't have a race concept to it. Where Nazi Germany was basically white supremacism mixed with economics of socialism. Let me see here. Sometimes I like to paint myself orange and my hair green and line the back garden for an entire day. Wait, what? What are you talking about, Solid Snake? Thank you for the super chat. What do you think of Maya Fey? She's a very interesting character. I hope she comes back in the Apollo games. Okay. Yeah, I was just a bit confused on that. I don't know what that was about. Thank you for the super chat, Solid Snake, but I don't know what that was about. Do I play any strategy games? I play Mountain Blade Bannerlord, if that counts as a strategy game.
You moron! You'll be sorry. You don't want to do this. What in all hell? On time shit!
Okay, I guess we're each gonna have to pick one person up. I did hear about that, Walker. Yeah, people told me about that earlier. As a fan from Turkey, I'm happy to hear that you like Bannerlord. Yeah, Tailworld's interactive. I know, they're a Turkish studio.
Jesus!
Bannerlord is an awesome game. But you know what I really hope, and you know what I'll tell you about Tailworld's Ipotech? The developer of Bannerlord is like one of the most moral developers that I think I've ever seen. And I really mean that. Because the developer of the game has been updating the game for years and constantly adding free updates. I've been playing Bannerlord for years, and they've added, so much free updates, new weapons, new armors, new buildings that you can control, you can buy, new abilities. They're constantly adding stuff, new features to the game, constantly always adding new features to the game. And that's what I love about Tailworlds, is that they constantly support their game. They're not greedy. They're not like Activision. They're not like EA. They're not like these other companies. Do you know what I really hope that they do? I really, really, really hope that they create a Napoleonic game in that in Bannerlord. Like, if you play Bannerlord, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. That you know how they had the Napoleonic Wars on Warband. I really hope they create a Bannerlord game during that time, like the Napoleonic Wars. I hope they do that. Because I want to see that. I want to see, like, the muskets and the cannons. I want to see that. I want to see that in, like, Bannerlord's engine. I think that'll be so cool in Bannerlord's engine. I want to see it.
I'm done here.
Do you know what the worst thing they did in Bannerlord though was? The worst thing they did in Bannerlord was in my opinion, it was the main quest with those conspiracies, you know what I'm talking about, right? You play Bannerlord Ipatek. You know when you're either you're playing the single player, the main campaign, and you're trying to unify the Empire or you're trying to destroy the Empire. You have to choose one. You choose which faction to support. One thing that I hated about Bannerlord is I hated how like those conspiracies constantly pop up, like those annoying conspiracies, and you gotta like you're in the middle of a quest, you're in the middle of a war, and then like you gotta go across the map and you gotta deal with the conspiracies, and if you don't stop the conspiracy, what ends up happening is like all the other kings band together in like this giant alliance and like declare war on you, and then you can't make a peace treaty. Until you destroy them all, and it's so annoying fighting on multiple fronts, and you're constantly losing cities, you're constantly getting overrun. So like those conspiracies are annoying. They're constantly being formed. Like I don't mind like going after the conspiracies, but I don't want a conspiracy forming every turn because it gets annoying. The other annoying thing the Bannerlord developers did, but they actually fixed this mistake. They actually fixed. They fixed this part. Is that when you conquer an entire faction's like fortresses, all their cities, if you conquer all their settlements, everything, that faction still existed. And what they would do is they would form like these raiding parties, and they would just constantly keep burning your villages. Like the faction would never get truly eliminated, and they would just constantly keep running around, forming parties, and they keep burning your villages, and it would get annoying. But they recently released a patch where they finally got rid of that, where if you capture all the settlements of a faction, it gets eliminated. And that finally made me happy because you don't have to deal with those annoying like raids constantly coming in and constantly burning villages. I had actually a chance to talk with Tailworld's executive at last E3 about that. Oh, you talked to them about that? How like the factions keep coming back and they keep burning your villages because that got annoying. What did they say? But yeah, that developer is pretty good in my opinion because they did actually help. They did support their game. They didn't abandon their game. They didn't pull a Rockstar Reddit Online. So my props to Tailworld Interactive is they actually did a pretty good job. What's your opinion on Sadie from Red Dead Redemption 2? She's a pretty awesome character. She has great character development. I never know what happens if you don't help her, because I always helped her at the end of the game, so I don't know. I'm curious what happens if you don't help her, how that affects her character. But yeah, she had tremendous character growth. But also, it shows you that she also had, like, traits about her that developed that aren't necessarily good. Like, she became a lot more ruthless, too. Like, when she got the guy in the balloon killed, like, he didn't deserve that. That was Sadie's fault. The guy in the balloon dying was pretty much Sadie's fault. She had great character development, but she took things too far, too. I did that quest too fast and had to restart, yep. And honestly, what I will say is the best thing that you can do early on in Bannerlord, when you're doing a playthrough of Bannerlord, is that you want to eliminate the factions as quickly as possible, and don't form the banner. Don't form the banner until you eliminate a few of the factions. Like when you have 100 days left in the main quest, that's when you want to form the banner. Because if you form the banner early on, the conspiracies will start coming after you in Bannerlord, and they get really annoying. Those conspiracies are so annoying. And you know what I don't understand? It's the There's the Empire woman, and then there's that other guy who, like, hates the Empire, and, like, they'll both be forming conspiracies against you depending on if you, who you side with. And, you know what's really crazy about it? Is, on one of my playthroughs, she is literally, like, 100 years old. She is over 100, and she's still forming conspiracies. I don't know how you can be over 100 years old and you can still be leading conspiracies and, like, getting all these people to attack you. That's crazy. Like, I'm, like, thinking, is this ever gonna end? This is getting ridiculous now. But, like, yeah, she was, like, over 100 years old, and she was still forming conspiracies and constantly attacking me in my settlements, and that was, like... Well, when you declare somebody the owner of the Dragon Banner, that's when they start coming after you. That's when the factions start coming after you. And the conspiracies start forming, and it gets really annoying, it does. Just deliver these targets then, guys, when you get the chance. It's going good, it's going good, Jack, how are you, man? What's my favorite culture in Bannerlord? Oh, that's easy. My favorite faction in Bannerlord is the Khuzaits, the Mongolians. They're my favorite faction. Most of the time I play as the Khuzaits. That's the faction that I played as most of the time. The faction that I dislike the most in Bannerlord is the Vlandians. I don't like the Vlandians. Because the Vlandians are like the most powerful civilization in that game. They have so many towns and fortresses, and they're so warmongering. Like, the Vlandians have declared war on me more than any other civilization. Like, they declare war the most. I've never liked the Vlandians because they're so power hungry. They're ridiculous. They're constantly invading. They're constantly attacking. The Vlandians declare war more than the Khuzaits, who are the Mongolians. So, like, they're more into conquering than the Mongolians are. It's like every single month the Vlandians declare war. It's ridiculous. Well, I actually looked it up, and it said that the Vlandians are supposed to be based on the they're supposed to be based on the French. That's what the Vlandians are supposed to be based on. But they have German accents. So I don't understand. They're supposed to be based on the French, but they have German accents. So that's what I found weird about the Vlandians. I know the Sturgeons are supposed to be the Swedish. I know that. The Khuzaits are the Mongolians. The Aserai are supposed to be a few Arab kingdoms. The Empire is supposed to be the Byzantine Empire. But I don't know what the Vlandians are supposed to be. The Aserai are actually my second favorite faction in Bannerlord. And I like the Aserai, I like them for two reasons. The first reason I like the Aserai is because their land is very isolated. The Aserai is the hardest civilization to invade. They are the hardest ones to attack. Because there is only two ways to attack the Aserai. It's from that little corridor on the left side, that little narrow place where you can see every army coming through, and the right side, like in the Imperial territory near the Khuzait area. So they have a pretty good stretch of land. They're in the desert. They have a bonus while they travel in the desert. But also, what I like about the Aserai is I like their trading bonuses. So if you're a character that likes to sell, you like to trade, the Aserai are like the best faction to play for if you're trading. That's what I like about them too. Go here. Hey Pro, happy to support your content. Thank you, Tyler Boy. Thanks, man. Have I ever played a Command and Conquer game? No, Generals Alert. I haven't played it, but that's the game where the Soviet Union is like still an enemy, right? It's a strategy game. Khuzait, Rider Archer is actually the most broken in the game. I actually haven't used the Khuzait archers a lot, but the thing is, though, the Mongolians actually had the best horse archers in history. They did. So that does actually, I guess, historically make sense.
You even know who you're messing with?
But basically, you know, when I played as the Khuzaits, I would do the exact same strategy every single time for every single battle. And do you know how I won every battle, even when I was outnumbered? What I would typically do... let me go here. Trying to play a little poker. What I would typically do is I would make half of my forces archers. So half of my army was archers, nothing but archers. The other half of them was heavy cavalry. And what I would do is I would basically have like a giant wall of Khuzait archers just like forming. And like in a giant wall of archers just slinging lead. And they would just attack the enemy. And just when the enemy's coming at them, they would just cut them down so badly that like half of the enemy's forces would die. And when the enemy got within, I would say like maybe like 100 meters of the archers, what I would do is I would have the entire cavalry force. The other half was just heavy cavalry. That would just have them charge and just wipe them out. And that worked every time. Have a giant wall of archers and just have them just spam all the arrows at all the enemies coming at you, and then just have all the heavy cavalry come, and it was just the, that worked so well. It was so effective. But I really hope the developer does consider a Napoleon expansion. But Ipotech, you told me you talked to the developer of Bannerlord. Have they you said they have some plans, right? So they're planning on supporting the game for like years to come, right? They're still planning a lot of stuff for Bannerlord, right? Let me see here. I learned so much history from you. Well, thank you, player. Was Genghis Khan as evil as Stalin and Hitler? Genghis Khan was not a good man. He was a very, violent, brutal man. I would say Genghis Khan probably is approaching evil. Probably is. But about Genghis Khan is, I don't know if it's fair to like compare him necessarily to like Hitler, for example, because Genghis Khan did do horrible atrocities, but there are also good things that he did at times too. I can't really think of any good that those other guys did. Like, one thing about that made Genghis Khan's Mongolian Empire successful is Genghis Khan was against privilege. He was against the aristocracy. Genghis Khan hated the European aristocrats. He hated them. He also didn't like the aristocrats in the Arab kingdoms, too. He didn't like them either. And he hated the aristocrats in China, too. So he just did not like aristocrats in general. Because Genghis Khan was like a poor farmer boy that grew up on the plains, just hunting with his bow and arrow. He wasn't some guy that came from some fancy royalty. He became a warlord, and eventually, became like, Genghis Khan was probably the most powerful person on the planet when he lived. He was probably the most powerful person during his time. And so Genghis Khan believed a lot in meritocracy. Meritocracy, the idea that you get to where you are, you get your position through skill and hard work. You don't get to your position through, you don't get to your position through privilege. Khan completely eradicated human civilizations. He's definitely evil, like I would say. He's approaching evil, but he did do some good things. That's what I'll say about him. He's a very controversial figure. I know that Mongolia, they like him a lot in their history. So I'm not defending what Genghis Khan did at all. But I'm just saying is that he did do certain good things. He had a system of meritocracy in his in Mongolia. He did despise the rich and privileged. He typically I'm trying to think of what was the other good thing that he did. There wasn't any international law in Khan's time, though. He lived in the Conquest era, but Bannerlord is steering in the future. Yeah, Genghis Khan did not go after religions. So, Genghis Khan did not force religions on people. He didn't do that. Now, here's the thing about Genghis Khan. This is what's controversial about him. Is, if the Mongolians, if they came to your city and they told you to surrender, if you surrendered to the Mongolians, if you didn't resist, if you did not fight them, for the most part, generally they would leave you alone. I'm not saying they wouldn't harm you, but for the most part, they would leave you alone. If you resisted, if you fought against them, and then they won a battle and they took you prisoner, it was just absolute brutality, no mercy. Really horrible. They would do horrible things to you, unspeakable things. So generally, if you didn't resist them, they would typically leave you alone. But if you resisted, if you fought against them, they would basically they would show you no mercy. They were some pretty ruthless guys. And here's the thing: is I would say the most evil thing that Genghis Khan did is, or the Khans. I'm trying to remember if it was Genghis Khan. It was one of the Khans. One of the Khans took over Baghdad in Iraq, and they slaughtered everyone in the city. And they did that because the city resisted so much. The city would not surrender. And it was just horrible. Like, they just killed women, kids, they just burnt most of the city down. They slaughtered every single civilian in the city. I don't know if this was Genghis Khan that did this, it was one of the Khans. But it was basically the slaughter of Baghdad. I would have to look up which one it was, which Mongolian leader did it. But it was one of the Mongolian leaders. He basically just mass murdered everyone in Baghdad. And he killed... And Baghdad was one of the largest cities in the world back then. If you want to know how many people the Mongolians killed, they killed over 1 million people in Baghdad, in that city alone. So, in just that city, in that one city, they murdered 1 million people. They literally killed, like, every single civilian in Baghdad. And that's why, it says the Mongolians have a very dark history in Iraq. A very, very dark history. Oh, you studied the history, the incident I'm talking about, Ipitek? Was it Genghis Khan? I would have to look at it. I'll look it up who it was. But the Mongolians, how they basically conquered cities, what they would do to conquer cities, is the Mongolians would take their cavalry, which the Mongolians had probably the most elite cavalry in the world at that time. The Mongolians, when they were trying to take over a city, and the city, it was too hard for them to take it, what they would do is they would send their cavalry into villages. And when they would send their cavalry into the villages near the city, they would scare the people with the cavalry, and they would drive the people out, pretending that they're going to kill them. But they wouldn't kill any of the villagers. They wouldn't kill any of the people in the villages. They would just scare them out. And the reason that they would do that is for two reasons. The first reason is when they take over the village, they have just basically secured resources for their soldiers. They have food from the village because the villagers have just fled. So they've taken over the village. They have housing for their soldiers, and they now have food for their soldiers and supplies. The villagers, on the other hand, what they're going to do is, because they're running away from the Mongolian cavalry, they're going to run to the city. The city walls are going to open, they're going to let the civilians in. And what the Mongolians are going to do then, at that point, is they're going to loot all the farms around the cities, and they're basically going to sit outside the city, and they're going to starve them out. Because the more people they push into the city, the more villagers they cause to flee into the city, the more the food is going to drain. You see what the Mongolians were doing? They carefully planned this out. They did. They were very smart with this. It's messed up. It's evil. What I'm just saying is they planned this out. They did. So when people think of the Mongolian army during like Genghis's time, they think of like these brutes going in. But the thing about this is the Mongolians were very smart in how they went about their tactics. I'm not defending them, but I'm saying they were a very smart civilization. Their commanders, they knew how to win battles. That's what I'll say. It was very messed up, but they knew what they were doing with those fights. So just driving all the civilians towards the city, taking all their food at the same time, housing for their soldiers. You have housing for your soldiers, and you basically just starve the city out. And that's what it was. But what I'll say to you is, do you know what the most evil thing the Mongolians would do in battles? The Mongolians are the first civilization that invented biological warfare. Genghis Khan invented biological warfare, when you think about it. What the Mongolians would do is they would take bodies that have the Black Plague and other diseases, and what they would do is they would flung the bodies across the walls, like using catapults. They would just send the infected, plague-ridden bodies into the cities, and just basically get everybody sick, and everybody would die from the plague. That's what they would do. They would do that too. That's a form of biological warfare. The Mongolians did that. It was horrible. But what I will say about, and you're probably wondering, this. Wouldn't that get the Mongolians sick if they're firing plague bodies? No, not really. The reason it wouldn't get the Mongolians sick is because the Mongolians were from Central and East Asia. They were more resistant to the disease, to the Black Plague. For example, Europeans were very vulnerable to the Black Plague. If you were from Central Asia or Eastern Asia, you were a lot less likely to get sick from the Black Plague. The Black Plague killed Europeans were very vulnerable to that. So if they were sieging some city in Eastern Europe, they would just flung in. They could basically just kill the entire city just with the plague alone. I'm glad Khan died before the Mongols invaded Egypt. You know, the thing about this is, the reason that, and I'll answer your question in one moment, Mario. The reason the Mongolian Empire collapsed, the reason the whole thing fell apart, it's not because there were some economic problems, or there was it wasn't because of some economic problems or wars. The reason the Mongolian Empire collapsed was because the Khans didn't leave any successors. So when the Khan died, he didn't leave any successor. He didn't write who was supposed to succeed him. And Mongolia made the same mistake the Roman Empire did, where they separated their empire into different portions. So the Roman Empire separated, it was Western Roman Empire, and then Eastern Roman Empire was the Byzantine. The Mongolians did the exact same thing. They had the Golden Horde, that was basically Central Asia. They had the Qing dynasty, I think it was the Qing, correct me if I'm wrong. That was the eastern portion of the Mongolian Empire that was primarily in China. And so they separated their empire into two or three different parts. And what happened is when the Khan died, the leader of the Golden Horde was like, I'm the true successor to the Khan. And then when the leader in the Qing dynasty in China was like, no, I'm the true successor to the Khan, and they started fighting each other. And that's basically what brought it down. Think about it this way. If Genghis Khan had left a will, and he basically wrote in his will who his successor was supposed to be, the Mongolian Empire might even exist today. Think about how different the world would look. We would have one giant Mongolian country that would be comprising so many different cultures and nationalities would be in it. But it would be basically one giant Mongolian empire. It might even still exist today, if the Khan had simply named a successor. So that's what I would say is this crazy. Is this one simple event in history, not leaving a will, change history that much? So just always think about it. There's those small little things that could change history so much. That's what's always been so interesting about history. Is those small little things that could just change so many events. Which presidents are underrated? I say Grant and Eisenhower. Also, did you hear about that Captain Cook statue which vandals cut down in Melbourne? I did actually hear about the vandalism. Grant and Eisenhower, yeah. Grant was definitely a very accomplished general in the Civil War. He did a good job as president, also. But Grant, what I'll say about him is Grant was the most unhealthiest president. A lot of people don't know that about Grant. Is what Grant did is Grant despised the like the Jim Crow laws, and he hated like the he hated a lot of the southern state governments way after the Civil War as well. He wasn't in favor of policies like that. But about Grant is Grant was the most unhealthiest American president that ever lived. People don't know that. People think that it was somebody else that was typically the most unhealthiest president. But what Grant would do is Grant drank like 2 or 3 glasses of whiskey every day and had like 4 cigars in a single day. That's what his every day, his daily routine was, like having a few glasses of whiskey and a few cigars every day. So he was literally the president that had the worst, physical health out of any president. And it's kind of weird considering the fact that he was a soldier. You'd think that like a soldier would take better care of their health. So he was a good guy typically. Grant wasn't a bad person, but he should have cared more for his health. That's what I'll say about him. Eisenhower, what I'll say, Eisenhower is a pretty good president also. When he was a general, he led America through World War II. He fought in the Western Front. He did a pretty good job there. He was in charge of the Normandy landings, Normandy invasion. Was Eisenhower the Normandy guy? I think Eisenhower was the guy who was in charge of the Italian landings. Was Eisenhower the one in Normandy? I would have to look that up. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I know Eisenhower was involved in the Italian landings. But Eisenhower's greatest accomplishment during his presidency was the interstate highways. So all the highways. Look at that, $19 that I just won. Nice. So I'm probably gonna end it here because I just won a ton of money. Yeah, just gonna get out there. But Grant, all those highways, those interstates that you drive on in America, if you're an American, all those highways that you're driving on, remember that Eisenhower built those. So President Eisenhower built the highways. That was probably his greatest accomplishment, and it still lasts to this day. Eisenhower is only also warned the United States about the military-industrial complex. He said that the military-industrial complex is going to basically be the downfall of America, that like these giant, large companies that are going to basically cause America to get involved in wars, and just they want to profit from wars and just making arms instead of for the greater good. So I think he had a point with that. He was way ahead of his time with that, too.
Are y'all doing my game? Where's Dre at?
How do you think Tony should have handled the veto situation in The Sopranos?
The lobby might be full. Join one of your own and invite me.
The veto situation, and I'm gonna wrap up my stream here, guys. I'm really hungry. I haven't eaten dinner, so I'm just starving here. But I'll answer a few questions before I go. To answer your question, how should Tony have handled the veto situation? What Tony should have done is Tony should have sent Vito to Atlantic City. That's what he should have done. He should have taken the money, the $200,000 that Vito offered him, and he should have sent him to Atlantic City. Because the thing about this is, you know what I find weird about that scene in The Sopranos is that they were making such a big deal out of Vito being gay. Like, they made such a big deal out of it. They were acting like Vito being gay was like the equivalent of like ratting out the family. They instantly wanted to just kill him over that. And what I find so ironic about this is, you know that one scene in The Sopranos when like Carlos sits down with like Tony to talk about the Vito situation, and like Carlos says we have to remember our principles, and then he says, and Tony's like, what principles? And then Carlos like, it's a sin. And I was like, that's like the most ridiculous scene in the entire Sopranos series, when Carlos says that like being gay is a sin, because it's that they're the Italian mafia. These guys rob and steal from people. They murder people, and then he's saying, "Oh, that's a sin." So that scene was meant to show you how ridiculous the mafia was. It was basically making fun of the mafia, how ridiculous the mafia's morals are, how stupid the mafia is in those regards. And the thing about this is, all of the people who were condemning Vito really had no right to condemn Vito, because pretty much every single one of those gangsters, almost all of them, had an affair. Like, every single one of them was cheating on their wives. Every single one. Chris was cheating on his wife. Tony cheated on his wife multiple times. Silvio cheated on his wife. It's like all these guys are constantly having affairs, and then they basically are taking some kind of high ground and basically saying, oh, they're going after Vito for being gay. So, that, honestly, Vito being gay, that's not important. It's not a big deal. It's not hurting anybody. It's not causing any problems. Vito was Tony's best earner. He made the family rich. That's how the Soprano family made so much money. So him being gay is not important. It doesn't matter. The only situation could matter if Vito was ratting out the family or betraying the family. That would be a whole different story, but he wasn't. So there's really no problem here. There's no conflict here. But they were basically making it out to be like it was, nothing. Like it was some, ridiculous thing, like it was the end of the world. So he literally made them all rich, and they turned their backs. They turned their backs on him. They betrayed him. Now the most messed up thing about Vito's affairs is that Vito didn't tell his wife. He wasn't honest with his wife. That's probably that was kind of messed up. But like I said, is that these other guys who were condemning Vito really had no right to condemn him because they constantly cheat on their wives, and that's just as much a sin. So that's what I'll say about the Vito situation. Is Tony should have sent him to Atlantic City and should have had him running their operations there. And basically Tony should have made it clear to Phil that if Vito is harmed in any way possible, that there is going to be retaliation. That's what he should have made that clear to Phil. And also the funny thing is Phil cheated on his wife too. So Phil was cheating on his wife as well, and trying to condemn Vito. So that basically answers it. I think that them going after Vito for that, I think, was ridiculous. Medical fact: people who have strong allergic reactions were more likely to survive the plague. Change the genetic makeup of the typical Caucasian. Oh, I didn't know about that. People who had strong allergic reactions were more likely to survive the plague. What? Because their bodies would react more heavily to it if they got sick? Is that why? Their bodies would create more. What's those things called that your body releases when you're having like a disease to like what's that called? The immune thing. Damn, I don't know this part. No. It's your body releases like these things to like when you have a disease, your body releases these things that like it antibodies. That's what it is. Antibodies. That's what you got it. So do I have that right? Then the people that had more allergic reactions, they had more antibodies because their bodies were just typically like more sensitive to those things, and so because of that, they're less likely to die. I guess that might make the sense from it, but okay, I'll see you gaming. No, I haven't seen Angry Joe's Top 10 Worst Games. I'll take a look. I think Saints Row is definitely going to be on there, isn't it? A Catholic only has to confess to the priest, not the wife. The thing about this is, honestly speaking, though, is I don't, I believe, in my personal viewpoint, is that if there is some kind of God, that he is basically going to punish, people for just doing horrible, evil things. And even, there's a thing, if you confess, that's one thing. If you confess to, like, a sin, that's one thing. But the question is whether you are truly sorry. That's the question is. Are you just confessing to a sin because you're just scared of getting sent to hell? Or are you confessing to a sin because you're generally sorry? Because if there is a God, I think that he will be able to tell the difference between the two. And I think that he will still punish people, regardless on that. If they're doing such horrible, evil things, but they're only confessing just because they just because they're scared of hell, I think that he would be able to tell the difference. But that's just my view. I'm an agnostic. I don't really have a religious view, but that's just how I feel about it personally. If you keep doing it, you're not really sorry. Yeah, that's exactly what. The thing about that is, if anybody has ever played the Saboteur, the Saboteur is like an open world World War II game. And in the Saboteur, you play as a resistance fighter in Nazi-occupied France. And there is this priest that gives you a bunch of missions to your character. And the priest basically tells you that there's this guy who comes in for confession constantly. And he just keeps ratting out people to the Gestapo, which are the Nazi secret police. And people are basically getting sent to concentration camps. People are getting murdered constantly. People are just getting killed by the Nazis because this guy keeps ratting everybody out to the Gestapo. And the guy keeps coming back to confession over and over and over again. And keeps saying, "Father, I'm sorry." And then he keeps doing it over and over and keeps getting more and more people killed and more people tortured. And basically what the priest does is the priest tells you, "I can't do this anymore." And he basically wants you to kill him. And when your character says, "Isn't that against your religion?" the priest basically says that that he's gonna keep killing more people. He's not gonna stop. We have to stop him. So basically, he sets up. The priest pretends to bring the guy for confession, and then your character assassinates the guy who keeps giving everybody the Gestapo. So that was it. Is the guy isn't sorry if he keep doing it over and over again? He's not sorry. So that was generally the priest was 100% in the right on that. But the thing is, in the Catholic religion, is my mom is a Catholic, and the Catholic religion is priests are not allowed to tell outsiders about a confession. They're generally not allowed to. Is even if somebody confesses like a murder to a priest, the priest is not able to go to the police with that information. They're not able to. The priest might go to the police and they might say the murderer is still out there, like they might tell the police, but they can't, like, in their religion, they can't necessarily tell the police who did it. They can't necessarily do that. Because I'll tell you something, if somebody goes to confession and confesses to a murder, but then they don't turn themselves in, that shows they're not sorry. That's at least my viewpoint. If they're really sorry, they'll turn themselves into the police. Have I seen Persona 3 Reloaded? No. I have one of the Persona games. I got them for free with my PS5. I know that, but I never played it. Thank you, Mr. Nowhere and Techno Fan. What super chats did I miss? I think I read everyone's super chats, right? Jonathan, thank you for the super chat. Techno, and Mr. Nowhere. Ricky Mario. Greatest, Within, I saw it, and oh, Happy Solid Snake, I didn't see that one. Did I ever hear the Tragedy of Darth Plagueis Just a Wise? That's from Star Wars, yeah, I know that.
Alright, let's move in on him.
Have I played a Command and Conquer game? No, I have not.
I want him dead. You hear me?
Uh-oh. None of this.
Thank you, Happy Solid Snake. Yes, I heard about the Vince McMahon controversy. It's horrible. It's, I can't look at him the same way again anymore, honestly. Like, I haven't watched wrestling in, like, years, like, since I was a kid, but I remember I used to watch him on Raw all the time. Vince McMahon on Raw so many times. I can't believe that he, you know, that he was involved in crap like that. I think I got all the super chats. But I guess I'll be going here, guys. Thank you guys for the thank you guys for hanging out with me. And if you guys enjoyed the stream, do drop a like if you guys enjoyed the stream. And I will have a bully lore video for you guys on Sunday. So on Sunday we'll have a really cool lore video. I think you guys will love it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed the stream today, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.